Hi, it's Tim Hagen from Progress Coaching, and this session is going to be around how do I reinforce my training? And one of the things with training is we do a great job. We build our online courses, we build our seminars, our workshop, our materials, and things are kind of changing, especially with AI. Yet we also know that there's still that opportunity to reinforce training. Now, you have the same battle that we have as training HR professionals. You hear the same thing we do. I don't have time to coach. I've always laughed at that, and I would love your opinion. Put your comments in. If you don't have time to coach, where does the time come from to rehire people that leave your team? That's probably more lengthy than coaching someone. So during the session, we're just going to talk very quickly for about 15 to 20 minutes around training reinforcement. Now, what we have coming up is something called the Training Reinforcement Lab or the Training Reinforcement Lab coaching. And it's really about teaching people how to reinforce training. Now, how do you do that? Now, I'm going to bring up an image here. So just give me a little bit of latitude here, and hopefully this will come up fairly quickly. And what this does is when you think about training and you think about the reinforcement, so someone comes to your class on, let's say, negotiation skills, and here we go. When someone comes to your course on negotiation skills and they go to the workplace, what happens? Let's be honest, what happens? I cannot tell you, even as an outsider, how many times I hear a leader say, no, 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 you don't need to know that. Do this. They may not even be undermining you. They just might be segmenting only pieces of all the work that you put together. Now, I'm not trying to criticize leaders. What I'm saying is reality is if they don't know what's in your training class or in your training imperatives or what their people have learned, they'll just kind of gravitate to their own comfort zone and a lack of alignment is created. Happens all the time. So I want to share with you, and I think many of you who know our stuff, this is our coaching. This is our coaching model. Now, there's a reason I show this to you because when you are creating reinforcement materials, and I'm going to give you a really cool opportunity here at the end to actually fill out a form, get on a wait list, and I'll actually build you a coaching plan. So when you have, let's say, negotiation skills, what we do is we teach three different types of coaching. The first one is direct coaching. The second one is career coaching. The third one is something called supplemental coaching. So let's say we have 10 people that have gone through our course on negotiation skills. Let's pretend it's sales and customer service team members. The direct coaching model, essentially what we do is we create a plan. How do we have a conversation directly or with our teams? So let's say it's a one-on-one coaching plan. The learning project could be every week come in with 2 examples of where you successfully negotiated, and maybe one looking back, it didn't go as well as you thought. Then when they come in, the questions start, which drives self-awareness and understanding. Then we might suggest specific activities, which develops positive change. And then how to end every conversation with the learning project, which is really the same thing. Come in with 2 examples of where you were successful, maybe one where you weren't as successful when it comes to applying the negotiation skills you learned. That conversation is 8 to 9 minutes. Now, we also teach leaders how to bring in their motivator. So it might be, well, Bob, if you were to improve your negotiation skills, how do you think that will position you to become a first-time leader, which you shared was your goal? So the motivator is the WIFT. What's in it for them? Scaling time. This is where you get to embrace the time objection. So when a leader says, I don't have time, well, what if we showed you some methods that were prescriptive in nature called supplemental coaching? So let me give you an example. Peer-to-peer practice, observe and journal, reading a book, watching a video, self-coaching, journaling. We teach about 10 different ways. Now, what we also do here at Progress Coaching is we build these plans. So when you fill out this form and get on our wait list, I'll actually build you a coaching plan. So what's really interesting is what happens when we do this is what we do is we make it very easy for leaders to understand exactly what they need to do. We literally hand them a blueprint week by week. Here are the questions. Here are the activities. Here's the learning project, which drives accountability. Here's how you can tie it in if you know their motivator. Here's how you find their motivator. Oh, by the way, you want to accelerate things? We're going to teach you supplemental coaching. So what's happening is when you're reinforcing your training, you want to make it easy. You want to make it easy. So there's two things for you to consider. Number one, you have to have a coaching framework or a training reinforcement framework and build everything around that. Number two, you have to train people on how to execute that, how to implement that coaching framework. Now we have our own, which I just showed you, which is called Qualms. There's the Grow model, which I tend to think is more of a feedback model, but there are other coaching models out there. It certainly doesn't have to be ours. But your materials have to be in alignment. They have to be in alignment with that. So there's consistency from training, from learning, to developing the coaching plans, to what they execute and apply. So we actually often refer to ourselves as coaching application experts. That's essentially what we do. So with that being said, what I want to share with you more than anything is that when you're creating your training reinforcement, think about beforehand. When you're rolling out your program, your imperative, your initiative, your course, your online modules, your micro lessons, whatever it is, how are you going to hand that ball to leaders? How are they going to receive the people afterwards? Let me give you a quick story around something that just happened at one of our client sites. It was a credit union. And one of the things that they did is they actually shared this course that they went through. And one of the things that we always go back to, and I'm trying to find this for you, when we go back to the workplace, the leader will literally say, well, how was the training? Did you learn anything? Yeah, I learned some things. Oh, that's great. And there's something that's different. So this one credit union was saying, we have a lot of stuff going on. We're having training a lot of new hires, the blocking and tackling, opening up accounts, opening up a CD, doing referrals, kind of the front end people in a credit union. And I said, what's the leader's role in that? Now I'm going to share this with you. I have multiple credit unions. They all respond the same way. Well, what they're supposed to do is, and what they basically are saying is they're not really doing it. And so I said, how do you know somebody is opening up account, educating on a CD, doing a referral properly? How do you know that that's occurring? And they said, well, we deploy something called observational coaching. Now, what I showed you, and let me show it to you again. What I showed you here is something that we call continuous coaching. The other two types of coaching are observational coaching, which I'm about to walk you through, and then one situational coaching, when leaders have an employee come to the door and say, well, Jill, do you have a second? It's going to be about 22 minutes, and I'm one of 5 people who did it that day. That impacts the leader. They're in a highly reactive mode. So the key to training reinforcement is to proactively position them with templates, step by step. Here are the questions. Here are the activities you can use. You literally, I hate the term, you literally can dummy proof. You can spoon feed. You can create a template. So when those things occur, what we have to realize is that when we have those conversations with our leaders, it's not because they're bad people. They just don't know. They don't know what to do, and they don't know what to say, and you can make that easy for them. So the observational coaching, going back to the credit union example, is very, very interesting. See, when that occurs, they would say, well, we would have a supervisor point out when they're doing it wrong. Now, I don't think I have it here. I should have been more prepared for this. I'm going to give you a couple numbers. 85% of people lack self-awareness. 76% of people are most motivated when they're progressing. People engage 8 times more when we lead with their strengths. So the credit unions would say, well, we point out when they do something wrong. I said, what's the impact? What do you mean? So what they're doing situationally is correct, but are they creating enjoyment towards the job? Maybe, maybe not. And so when the supervisor, the manager, the branch manager receives that employee, how do you know they know how to open up a checking account? And they'll say, well, they went through training. I said, we've all gone through training. We all haven't applied what we've learned in training. So what's interesting is that what we teach is something called knowledge, skill, and behavior. It's in our progress coaching training course. It's the tiers of learning. Knowledge, do the leaders ever have them teach it to them? So when you go to the training, so this is before the training, when you go to the training, I'm going to have you come back and teach me, and I want you to teach the rest of the group, and I want you to be open to some Q&A because I really want to position you to be successful. Skill, when they come back, are they practicing those simulations with members of your credit union? Well, they're supposed to. I said, are they doing it? Well, no. I said, so what's going to happen to the training? Is it being supported with skill development? You've disseminated some great knowledge. You probably did some role playing. How's that being supported? Well, it's not. Behavioral confidence. If someone's always pointing out what I do wrong, what happens to confidence? Does it go up? I don't think so. So that's what, when you think about training reinforcement, what can you do before your training? What can you do during your training? And then after training, where I think there's the secret sauce. How do we get leaders to reinforce what you already do really well? I'm going to go back to it. I've said it for 34 years. I've never changed it. They don't know what to do and say. So I'll give you an example. As a training or as an HR professional who I kind of targeted for this webinar, let me ask you a question. If an employee comes up to a leader in your company and says, is AI going to replace my job? How confident are you that all your leaders would be able to handle that conversation? Not just handle it, but have that person walk away confident. Is AI going to replace jobs? Are your leaders ready to explain that? Are they ready to coach to new skill development and agility? Are they meeting with their people on a regular basis? All of these things conjure up some challenges. So leaders today are going through a very, very difficult time. So the key is that when you're coaching, you have to position leaders to know what to do. So the learning project starts and ends the conversation. Now, this is our model. It doesn't have to be our model. Questions drive self-awareness. 85% of people lack self-awareness. We encourage people to always start their questions with the word what, activities. If you have a teller who doesn't know how to communicate CDs or how to ask for a referral, it's going to require practice. The training department, you or the HR department, will not have access to those employees over a lengthy period of time. It makes it tougher to apply it. And then you always end the conversation with the learning project, bestowing accountability and ownership on the rightful owner. If your leaders know how to do this, and they're reinforcing what you just trained and provided in terms of a learning opportunity for employees, and they were your partner, how are you feeling right now if they were doing that fluently? Number 2, career coaching, finding out what someone's motivator is. Do you know where leaders make the mistake? They try to motivate to the job solely. There's nothing wrong with that. Here's the challenge with that, is if you're trying to motivate a teller to upsell and cross-sell, yes, it's part of the job. But what if they share, you know what? I want to become a team leader someday. They will compartmentalize those duties. They will look at their present job not as a catalyst to the next job. They probably look at their present job as something they want to leave to go get what they want to do. So the key is to say, John, what if you got better at explaining the CDs? What if you got better at the upselling and cross-selling? What if you improved your referrals? How do you think that might help you move towards your goal of having your own team? That creates emotional attachment to what most people avoid. Change. The supplemental coaching could be when you have some downtime, Jill, I want you to watch John. And I want you to write down 2 things he does extremely well. Then I want to set you up with Betty. Betty's in charge of another department. She has her own team. She went through exactly what you've gone through. And I think you should meet with her once a month and just get some mentoring from her. And then you set that up with that person as well. So what you ultimately have to do is reinforce your training, have a framework, design materials around the framework, position your leaders to know how to execute the framework. Then they can receive the plans to actually go become your partner. So here's something I would love to share with you. Here is a QR code. So this is for our training reinforcement lab. We're probably going to launch this in, I'm not sure, probably sometime in the first quarter. Get on our wait list. But here's my gift to you. If you upload an outline, I will build you a coaching plan. If you fill this out, now I'm going to ask you, put your right phone number. Don't put anything fake or I won't do it. I will check it out. I'm not going to be ghosted. I'm not going to spend my time and then just have people, ghost me. I'm not going to do that. I know that comes off really bad, but I'm going to protect my time. But if you fill this out, get on our wait list. The Training Reinforcement Lab will be about four sessions, typically in the middle of the day around noon. We'll give you enough time. Get on the wait list. You will get a special discount. I will build you a coaching plan specific to your training, learning initiatives. It's a 4-part session, and then you get an accountability partner. There's homework between each one of the sessions. We give you unlimited access to our AI tool where you can build as many coaching plans as you want, to job descriptions, to training course outlines, to from leader to employee for self-coaching, assessment results. We've built out a platform called Coach Apply. We just added to it called Coach Apply Builder AI. So do me a favor, scan this QR code, get on the wait list. I will build you a coaching plan. And then part of that cohort that we're going to run, and we call it a coaching lab, will also provide you a course on progress coaching. That alone, we charge about 4 times more than what we're going to be charging for the Training Reinforcement Lab. So I hope this has helped. Again, the greatest thing we can do is prep before, facilitate during, and then really position your leaders afterwards to become your training reinforcement partners. Put your comments in. Let us know if you have any questions, and I'd be happy to help you. So I kept to that's about a 16-minute webinar. So let me know if you have any questions, and we'll go from there. Thanks, everybody.